Hey y'all, TT here with day 10 of Energywork for Immunity. Today and over the next couple days of sessions, we're going to do a little bit more kind of internal somatic work. So we've done throughout the weeks here some kind of full body movements, some real energy focused chi moving exercises. Today and tomorrow we're going to do a little more internally focused energy work, starting today with the somatic practice for emotional processing. So this somatics for emotional processing that we're going to do, it's a combination of breath work, focused body scanning, kind of awareness and visualization and sensing and feeling. So basically in this practice, you can do this seated, standing, or lying down, and I'm going to stay seated for it. In this practice, we're going to do some breath work. We're going to do kind of the same round of breathing 3 different times, and we're going to notice sensation that comes up in our body during and after each round, and have kind of a slightly different response each time to just kind of check in with where our emotional conditioning is at, our kind of embodied stamina for feeling and sensing, and what our sort of automatic responses are to sensations or to emotions that are moving through our bodies. So basically in this practice, you can do a couple different ways. What we can do and what I'm going to demonstrate is without any particular emotional focus. That is to say that I'm not doing the practice focusing on a specific emotion or a specific emotional quality. I'm going to do the practice in a way where I get to notice if there are emotions coming up, what I might identify them as, and what they feel like in my body. But you can also do this practice with a specific emotion in mind, which I've done in the past, and particularly can be useful for emotions that you might have difficulty dealing with, that can be hard to access, or you're uncomfortable with accessing or expressing those emotions. So for some people, those are emotions like sadness, grief, and anger are hard to express and stay kind of bottled up. For some people, there are emotions like joy, tenderness, love. Those are hard to express and can stay bottled up. So if you have one in mind that you'd like to work on, I encourage you to kind of plant that seed as we begin, to think, I'm going to think about this emotion, or think about circumstances that make me feel this emotion, as a way of kind of dropping in and visualizing with the flow of breath work. And then we'll look at the somatic response to that. Again, you don't have to pick anything in particular. We just notice any emotional responses that come up. So again, the framework of it, we do 3 different rounds of this particular breath work. The breath work itself is a nice continuous breathing in through the mouth and out through the mouth, right? We're using our mouth because we want to generate that vibration and sound as part of the practice. And in particular, on every exhale, you're going to release a sound, right? So this is where that emotional stuff can come into play, where if you're picking a specific emotion to practice with, to deepen with, you can release a sound that you associate with that emotion. If you're not picking a specific one, you can do any sound that feels right, and whatever the case may be, the sound can change each breath cycle. It can change each repetition of the practice. It can change as much or as little as it feels right. But the key is a nice, gentle, relaxed, continuous breath, breathing in, breathing out with sound. So sound vibration in breath is always really great for deepening relaxation, for creating vibration. We talked about earlier how vibration of the body is a really great way to boost your lymphatic system, boost immune support. So just from that kind of biological and energetic standpoint, the sound rhythm is going to be really great for us. And of course, the focus of this practice being processing and getting in touch with emotions. Anytime you're able to process, relate to, release, or communicate emotions, you're going to bring greater health to your body, because stuff isn't going to get stored up in your body in that way. You'll be able to release it in a centered way, not a way that feels out of control, but not a way that also feels like really stifled and controlled and overregulated and all these things that we don't need to have. We need to have centered relationship to our emotions maybe, but also the ability to freely express, and also to maybe sometimes hold back in a time when we need to do that without the emotion becoming subdued and put away for good. So we'll look at that practice again. We'll do 3 repetitions, and each repetition a different response at the end, right? So we do that breath work for a minute or 2, focusing on a particular emotion, visualizing that circumstances that bring that up, or just being with your body and not focusing on anything specific. We finish the round, the first round, and what we're going to do is we're going to imagine taking the sensation that's coming through our body or the emotion that's moving through our body, and we're going to kind of compress it, box it, compartmentalize it, put it away inside the body. So this may be a familiar way of dealing with emotions for some people, maybe not familiar for other people. The second round, we're going to do the same practice, and when we sit after the breath work and we notice sensation or movement or emotion, we're going to shake it out and we're going to release it and we're going to free it from the body in a really physical way of like moving it through your body somehow, right? So again, that response to processing emotion might be very familiar for some people and unfamiliar for others. And then the third time, we're not going to do anything. We're just going to try to be like a participatory observer of our sensation, our emotion, the movement, feeling in the body. So these are kind of 3 different responses in a simplified framework, 3 different responses you could have to ways of dealing with or processing when emotions come up in your body. And also centering and connecting that feeling of, you feel an emotion, what's happening in the body also, because there's always pathways, movement, and physicality to your emotions. All emotions have somatic properties, and some emotions are just somatic, and some emotions go deeper, and some emotions exist beyond that, right? But it's a really great way to discern and to center and to have a really good centered emotional response. Like there are needs and times for like centered anger and centered sadness and centered joy, right? But when we fall into conditioned patterns of like reactive anger, reactive sadness, reactive joy, right, where joy can become like a bypassing of other things that we do need to process. So just good things to think about as we drop into the practice, and we'll do that right now. Of course, if you need a moment or 2 to just review what I've said, or to take a moment to just settle into your body in your own way, feel free to pause the video. Take a moment to get acquainted with your body in whatever position you're in, noticing your breath, feeling your awareness, feeling contact with chair, floor, bed, wherever you are. Just dropping in to begin with, and then we're going to move into the first round of this breathwork practice. And like I said, if you want to practice with specific emotions, in the somatics I do, emotional practice is really great and really key to the work I do. And you can literally pick any emotion you want and plant that seed before the practice. And you're working with that emotion. You're working on stamina with that emotion. You're working on familiarity with it, the possibility of expressing it more clearly, right? So it is really something that we don't normally think about in our culture, but you can actually practice emotions. You can practice ones that are difficult for you, or you can practice ones that you might overuse as a way of bypassing other ones, right? So again, you can also focus on none in particular, like I'm going to do, and just see what comes up. So take a minute with each round of this breath work, breathing in through the mouth, breathing out with sound. Remember, nice and continuous. Try not to have any gaps in the cycle between inhalation and exhalation. Sound can change and morph. Ooh, whatever feels right. more time. Oh. And release that sound breath work. Return to natural breath. And notice what you feel in your body. Notice stimulation, temperature. Are there movements? Are there pathways of things you're feeling? And are there any emotions coming up with that feeling in your body? Any emotions coming up from that practice, whether you're focusing on a specific one or not? And then just with whatever you're feeling, whatever you're noticing, I want you to visualize. You can close your eyes for this if you like. Visualize compressing it deep inside your body, like into your belly, right into your center. Like you're boxing it up, boxing the feeling up. You're putting it away. So this is kind of like I'm not expressing this. I'm pushing it inside. I'm holding on to it. It might even feel like a contraction in your body. And again, that might feel familiar, unfamiliar. It might feel good. It might feel bad. All of that is okay. We don't need to qualify it by things like good or bad. Just notice, what is the tendency of what you're feeling? And we're going to move into this breath work again. And then we're going to do our second kind of version of response to the emotional and sensational qualities of it. So whenever you're ready, again, pausing if you need a few moments between each round. We'll move into the next round of breath work. Breathing in through the mouth and releasing sound out. The sound might be different this time. Just go with it, lean into it if it's different. Time. And release that sound breath work. Return to natural breath and just really immediately begin to feel and notice and observe. Where do you feel sensation, temperature change, cold or hot, rising or falling, weight, lightness, anything you can use to kind of discern and describe what you're feeling. Try to notice all of those qualities that are possible for you to notice. Notice any emotions that come with that feeling in your body, that come with that movement, that are left residing, and if they're comfortable or uncomfortable. And then we're going to shake it off, so taking and visualizing everything that you've noticed and you're feeling, and you're going to mobilize your body in some way that allows you to kind of somatically release, right? So really good somatic tools is releasing. We did vibrating on the first day of this Energywork series. Other kinds of releasing. As you're releasing, notice what you feel. Like I feel goosebumps in my back, right? Notice things you're feeling. Are there places of blockage or resistance? Does it feel comfortable or uncomfortable to release? Familiar or unfamiliar? And then just settle again. Just notice the differences between those first two versions of the practice, the compressing and putting away, and the shaking out and releasing. What feels more familiar, more comfortable, less familiar, less comfortable. What emotions came up, whether you're working on a particular one or not. There may be other ones coming too. Can you discern or put a name to it. It's okay if you can't, but it's just something to try to see what we can name. And language becomes very powerful and it's very magical when we're doing this kind of body work. If we can find language for things, and if we can't, it doesn't mean that it's not still as true and as present and real experience. So we'll do one more round. Again, pause if you need a few more moments with this processing. This practice can bring up a lot of stuff. And so I invite you to take as long as you need, but it is really important to do all three versions because then we get a nice balance of different experiences with the practice. So when you're ready, we'll move into the breath work for one more minute. So again, breathing in through the mouth and out, releasing sound. The sound may change. Just lean into that. Oh, whatever you feel. Oh, you might have an intuitive sound coming out. Ah. Ah. Oh. Ah. One more time. Release the sound breath work, natural breath flow. And for this one, I really invite you to close your eyes if you haven't already before. And notice again sensation, movement, flow in your body, places of tension or softness, contraction or release, warmth or cooling, things like goosebumps, tingling, buzzing, vibrating, places of comfort or discomfort. And we're not going to do anything this time. We're not going to compress it and put it away. We're not going to shake it off and release it. We're just going to be with it. And notice if there's emotions coming up with that, with the feeling and with how you're trying to relate to the feeling. Is this comfortable or uncomfortable, familiar or unfamiliar? To just sit with it for as long as it needs. These feelings, these movements and sensations and emotions that are moving. All emotion, remember, has movement and direction in the body. And without doing anything to our feeling, there will be a natural path or an arc that you might sense and feel, like a rising and a falling, or a moving in one direction and then another, or like a peak of energy and activity and then a settling. Just take a few more moments. And again, if you're ready, if not, you can pause and continue. But if you're ready, you can come back to the space, come back to your breath, let your eyes open. Just notice how you feel after that practice. If it's stirring things up, that can actually be a really good thing for us, especially in regards to our immune system health. Like, we want to bring emotions up that might be stored in the body so that we can find ways to channel, release, or honor or relate to these emotions. And it's actually going to bring us a greater embodied health. You might also feel like you did release something really nicely and that you feel relief or stillness after. And that's also really wonderful to have that quality.